Good evening, everyone. Welcome back. It is show 3. Axel Raven here, hosting Minor League Fights and Insights, number 3. Joined, as always, with by Daniel Wright, as well as Shane Kaufman. Welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight.
How are you doing, everyone?
All right. So tonight, a little change of plans. Originally, we were going to go through the rest of those player attributes. We only had, I think, maybe 5 or 6 left. Jacob wasn't able to make it tonight, so we're going to try to find a time or find someone. If it's not Jacob, I think he has to go back to work next week. To come and walk us through the rest of them next week. But instead of doing that, we are going to be spending the entire hour talking through another handful of minor league teams leading into season 4. So last week, what we did, we talked through both Tacoma as well as Boise Mud Dogs, ex Albuquerque Adams, and tonight, I want to just revisit those two teams just a little bit for those that might not have been able to attend last week. So, turn that guy off. So starting with Tacoma, I made these little graphics, these little things, so that we can sort of see a little bit easier the different players that are on the team with the little what medal they are. So on Tacoma, we've got 5 pretty powerful offensive players, as well as then a couple returning, just one returning, and with Earl coming in at inside linebacker. And then Mark, actually Shane's brother, right?
Yep.
Awesome. Coming in at cornerback. So another 5 defensive players as well. So, cool. All right. Anything, Shane, I mean, you're right here. I mean, anything you want to say about what you're thinking of? What you're hopeful for this coming season? You might be on mute, possibly. Not able to hear you.
Nah, hold on.
There we go. I think I can hear you now.
Can you guys hear me?
We can, yeah.
Okay. No, I definitely think looking forward to this season. With all the return starters we have, especially on offense, I definitely think we can put up a lot of points. Like you mentioned, a lot of newcomers on defense, so we'll have to just see how that goes. But hoping to get to the championship this year.
Yeah, so again, reminding us of last year. I know last year for Tacoma was the first time I think the first time reaching the playoffs in any fashion. It was also the first time the team finished the season above 500. Both, as a team, being a Tacoma alum, Daniel as well. That was a really big thing for us, that feeling like we had at least accomplished something, championship or no championship, feeling like we've come and grown from previous years. So sort of doing our duty as a team in that fashion. Daniel, anything that you'd like to add?
Well, yeah, it was a great thing that we were actually doing what we could do, because we had this rocky road going one win, one loss, one win, one loss, or vice versa. So it was actually nice that we could bring ourselves up and put ourselves forward to actually get into a playoff spot. I think we had 4 or 5 wins in a row in order to get to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because we had the rough start of having a bye week on week 9, so we had to make sure we got in week 8.
Definitely
for this year, it's going to be like the reverse of what it was last year, right? The defense held strong most of the season. Our defense is what propelled us to get to to our offense to score touchdowns. This is going to be all offense all the time. This is going to be probably one of the highest scoring teams if they play their schemes and play to their caliber and what they should be able to get. Defense is going to be a little rocky at first, but I have full faith in Earl Field leading the team on the defense to get these rookies into shape and be able to actually make some plays. Plus, with Tori Hanzo leading coaching defense, you never know what he's going to cook up, and he's been really good getting rookies and make them showcase themselves and how good they really are.
Yeah, he's actually been really interested in joining us on the show ever since like a week or two before we started. Sadly, though, on Wednesdays, the night that we chose to do this is a night that he teaches karate. So sadly, he hasn't been able to join us here. But yeah, agreed. Like, so Johnny Reno coming in for this will be his third season. Last season was his first as sort of a regular starter. His first season was behind JQ, actually, of Tulsa. You know him, Daniel.
Oh yes, I know him well.
Yep. Similarly with Brad Jones. Brad Jones coming in third year running back, balanced back, as opposed to finesse or power. That we'll see a little bit more of other teams as well. Like you said, Hattori Hanzo coming in, the only fullback in the league right now. And then two of the absolute two top wide receivers in the league, also with Mike Savage and Shane Kaufman. So yeah, they're both at silver. We've got 2 gold and a bronze. So I feel like that, everybody said, they are the ones that need to be putting up points. Something they should be able to do that if things go, if the game plan is planned correctly and things that there's no reason they shouldn't be doing that. Cool. Last week we also talked through a little bit of Boise. So I'm going to pull that up. So Boise. So looking at Tacoma, they had 5 and 5. So 5 offense, 5 defense. This one, they look like they have 4 offense and 5 defense. Again, we talked last week about how Doug Brown is going to be still eating up the yards. There's no reason that he shouldn't be, even though he isn't behind a fullback. I believe he was behind a fullback last year. Is that right? I want to say.
I'm not 100% sure. Okay. I don't know.
Maybe not. No, actually, it might be confusing with Bailey with Aaron Alexander on Lexington. So I think that's my miscalculation. But yeah, I think, Daniel, you said Trellis wasn't. It's not like he was an outstanding or a star passer, but he got the job done enough to in counterpart to Doug Brown. And then looking into their defense, actually, that's their wide receivers. Both of them appear pretty new. They're not bronze at all. They're still sort of plucking away. I believe Honus Odobe is Bill Henry's son, ex Tacoma Grizzly, that is now tight end for Mexico City. And looking at, they've got 2 returning bronze individuals in Dante Grimm and Don Fletcher, cornerback and strong safety. They do have 2 strong safeties, and they do not have a full safety, so they might be playing or maybe shifting individuals around. Not really sure yet how that might play out, or playing some sort of interesting nickel package or something, seeing what they can do with that. And one thing that we noticed with both Tacoma and Boise, but also looking at more detailed in the player rating sheet, is that there is a lack of both offensive linemen as well as mostly defensive linemen as well. There's currently only 3, I believe, defensive tackles and 0 defensive ends. And so that's one area that hopefully, as the weeks continue, I know last season there was a pretty good influx around week 1 to week 3 of new people. I think once the season starts and they know that, hey, I can sign up, I can get right in on the field is a great thing versus having to wait a couple weeks until the season starts. So hopefully that will really spur some more people joining. So that's sort of a recap of what we talked about last week. So let's start talking a little bit more about a few more teams. We'll start with Memphis. So here again, they do not have a strong safety. Wasn't sure. That's why I was surprised that Boise had two strong safeties. I didn't know if that was the deputy commissioners in the chat. I had asked him, "Hey, is it correct that Memphis does not have a strong safety, but yet Boise has two?" Might be a balancing thing, or when individuals come on, and then if someone leaves the server or things, there's always a order to things. But looking at this, a brand new quarterback coming in Cyrus Jive, pretty tall, 6'5", 235, a pretty, probably could be a linebacker, possibly, who throws the ball as well. And then perennial finesse back of GP Wells, really, had a pretty good season last year. Was, I think, really underrated in many of the games, but really was really successful. I believe he's the third strongest back in the entire list of running backs.
By the look of it, he's fourth.
Fourth, okay. Third must be Square Bush then.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I made these earlier today. Trying to remember what was going on.
Okay. I got the website open just in case.
Okay, cool. Wide receiver bronze, Terrence Weary, pretty solid build there. Getting closer to silver, so pretty high level there. I think he was there last year, season 3. I'm not sure if he started the season in week 1 or if it was maybe a week 3 or 4 pickup. And then we have tight end Caesar Ackerman coming back for season 4 from season 3. Was really, I think he's the top tight end right now. There's only a few of them out there, I believe.
There's 4, and he is definitely the top one.
Gotcha. By a pretty large margin?
4 points.
That's pretty large. That's like 8 weeks of progressions almost, or 4 weeks. But anyways, that's a pretty significant bump. Anything that you guys want to say about what do you guys think about Memphis offensively?
I think it's going to run. They're going to go through the run game with Wells. I think that's where it's going to start with them. With a new quarterback, the receivers, we'll have to wait and see. I think that's where it's going to start with them, especially on the offensive side of the ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder if they're going to be able to pick up another wide receiver, at some point early in the season to sort of be a partner to Terrence. Again, having the top-rated tight end might really dictate the type of play that they play, right? A lot more tight end focused things. I know, like San Diego Mavericks have 2 really good tight ends, and so maybe looking to them as to like what plays do they run that are successful that might be able to really leverage that tight end. Or Jenny, who's your tight end? Is it Jason France?
For me?
Yeah, in Tulsa.
Yeah, it's Jason France.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's been playing really pretty good. There's certain plays that really highlight the ability of the tight ends. Down the middle, up their height, their build, and usually they're being covered by a lineman. So it might be.
Yeah, I believe Terrence. I believe he's a second-year player, but first-year receiver, because I'm pretty sure he was free safety or strong safety for Tacoma last year and moved to receiver this year.
The name sounds familiar. Okay.
Also, Deputy Commissioner posted in the chat, mistake on my part, on the Reigns page, Israel Adams is on Memphis, not SLC.
Gotcha.
So they do have 2 wide receivers.
Okay, and Israel Adams is actually really I think he's up there if you've got the page up, Daniel, if you've got it up. I want to say he's in the top 5 or 6. Is he not?
He is exactly number 5.
Okay. I was going to say, so is he above or below Terrence?
He's above by 6 points.
Okay.
5, 6 points.
Wow. Okay. So he will be their big playmaker. So I mean, alongside GP Wells, I feel like that with him, that does really open up. It all falls back then on the quarterback to see how well this first year quarterback does. But being bronze already means that he might be able to take like a quick release animation to really get playing pretty well, or just simply, chucking away in those attributes, waiting until like the last couple weeks or something to take something. But that does, having Israel Adams really does probably change that pretty well. So on defense, outside linebacker, 2 cornerbacks, both of them are, I think, at least I know Laquan Smith is returning from last season. I want to say Roy Vance may not be, but would be a pretty quick off-season pickup for them, probably in July of some sort, maybe early August. But is already bronze at 65. So with them, I think with being bronze, 2 bronze cornerbacks really bodes well with being able to cover the pass game of their opponents. But seeing only a copper free safety and then what would probably be a generic non-player at strong safety really might open them up to some breakaway runs that might be plaguing that defense, especially without a defensive line as well. What do you guys think?
Yeah, their defense is going to struggle by looks of it. But what I can see right here, Laquan is a returning player. He'll do okay. He'll do all right as cornerback. But like the rest of their defense, there doesn't seem like there's a whole lot here that will say we'll be able to stop the run, or even if they pass it to anybody that Laquan Smith's not guarding, it's going to be tough, at least at first, to stop them. Roy Vance is a good pickup, like you said. He'll have a good season too, but like they're not going to stop Brown. They're not going to stop the run for the most part, I don't think.
At least against the gold running backs, I would say.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Shane, any thoughts on this defense? What you're thinking? Anything? Knowing that you might be playing against them.
Yeah. I don't want to say too much, in that regard. No, but I definitely think I think Daniel's right. I think the run is gonna be tough, especially going against old backs, and then with like Jones and Brown. I'm sure I know Jones has animations now, so that's going to make it even more difficult for some of these defenses to stop, especially when you only have one linebacker.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Again, last season we were most linebacker was really one of the prolific roles out there that most teams had a pair. Whether that was inside linebacker and an outside linebacker. Some even had 3, so 1 inside and 2 outside, which is really a full complement. That's what you see in the SFL pros, is typically the inside linebacker and 2 outside. But also you usually see a defensive tackle, if not 2, and then usually 2 defensive ends as well. So, and that's really that first level or first layer of barrier for those gold running backs, so they or even the non-gold, and so it might be a very run centered or successful running season this season, with then the hit or miss of certain when there's a special, like the things align well for a quarterback, and wide receivers or tight ends. Might be seeing some of that, but I think really running might be the biggest success, I guess you could say, this season. All right. Any other last words for Memphis? Anybody? It sounds like France was from Memphis as well, so a Memphis alum for Jason France, probably season 1 or 2 then.
The only thing I can say is going to be all on GP Wells and see how well he can contribute on the offense, because that's where their offense come from. It was where their offense was last year, even when they had another quarterback. So it's going to be send me to Wellstone, and hopefully he contributes, just like Douglas Brown does, things like that. He could be a hidden MVP in the making.
Yeah. And last year was, I want to say it was O.J. Bruin was the quarterback for Memphis.
Yes, it was.
And Tacoma, I remember facing him in week 1, and they really lit us up, to say the least, I believe.
Well, lit you guys up. I wasn't there till week 2.
True. We needed you there.
Yeah, it got ugly fast.
Yeah. So, cool. All right. So we'll move on then to another team. Let's switch to Ottawa, the Cavalry. So this team, looking at it, again, much like the other 2 teams, or other 3 teams, I want to say, 10 individuals right now. That's roughly the average. There might be one or two that has 9 players. Pretty good balance on offense and defense. So looking at this, we've got returning quarterback Scar Patterson, who was really good last year. Was better than what the record would show. I feel like he had some really good plays. There probably was some breakdowns here or there in some of their losses, but when they won pretty well. I remember, I want to say we lost to them in overtime last year, and it was a tough. What was that?
We beat them in overtime.
What was that?
We beat them in overtime.
We beat them. Okay. Woo! Yeah. Yeah. So, but other than that, their entire offense is pretty new. We've got a brand new running back in AJ Conway, a balanced back versus so very similar to Brad Jones. Doug Brown is a finesse back. Randy Squarebush is a power back. So just a different type of running back style. Wide receivers Gus Scott and Jatavius Callaway, with a newcomer tight end Dusty Rourke, who I believe is roughly a month into her role as well. Is actually I believe the girlfriend of, I want to say, Dusty Wilson on Sioux Falls guard on Sioux Falls. Any thoughts on this offense with, again, a gold returning quarterback with brand new offense? Curious how things might go.
Yeah, I think it's kind of let's wait and see on that. I definitely think the quarterback, having a gold quarterback is huge. It'll make a difference until hopefully it'll hold them over until the receivers start progressing more. So I'm thinking by halfway through the season or so, I think you'll see a team that'll really improve. Once everyone gets their progressions in.
Definitely, yeah. I think it's interesting. I think one of the fun things about the minor league is that the teams where they are starting in week 1 are going to be very, very different in how growing, how solid they are, how good they are come the last couple weeks of the season and heading into the championship. There's going to be those that really just blow some of us, surprise a lot of us, and I think that's part of the fun. Right? It's not just individual gold players that are incrementally progressing or adding a single animation or maybe 2 animations throughout an entire 12-week season, but they're like going from copper to like mid-gold or mid-bronze throughout the entire 10-week season that we have in the regular season for the minors. Daniel, any thoughts on them here? Anything?
So, the way I look at this is Ottawa is very good at getting good wide receivers and making them look good to place. Both of them went in the draft last season, I'm pretty sure. So, and Scar Patterson is actually the top-rated quarterback in the minors currently. He took the leadership trait So he's linebackers and things like that. He's front line is going to keep him a bit more protected, hopefully. Hopefully that's the plan. And so I think he'll have a lot of time to actually look for these things. And they're very good at utilizing the short passes just as much as the long passes. I remember a lot of times they do the slant route. They get 5 or 6 yards off that. They continue on their way. Ottawa was sneakily good last season. They lost a lot of games close.
Yeah.
And I mean like in this 4 or 5 points, right? It's like close to that. 1-score games. So if Scar Patterson can keep doing what he's doing, even with a new crew, I think this team will be just as good as before, sneakily good. And their defense, we'll get to them now in a second, actually has a lot of good qualities to them compared to other defense.
Yeah, again, we'll move on to the defense there. So looking at it, they've got one of the only, not the only, but one of the few defensive linemen, defensive tackle. I think that any of the teams that have the defensive tackle, I think are going to be just have that one extra leg up against those that don't in that run game, and or even in getting pressure to that quarterback. And with very few, I think there's literally only one offensive lineman, and that's on Madison. We'll get to them in a future show. And so with so few player linemen, offensive linemen, I think having a defensive tackle there is going to be one of the big game changers that could, bring about a couple sacks here or there, which can, or extra pressure, which can force a bad throw, especially for, the non-gold, new starting out quarterbacks. Something to watch out there. And especially with the new running backs coming. So, and then I think I want to say Declan O'Rourke. I'm not sure. I want to say that he might have come on very, very late or right after the championship last season. It seems very, very familiar.
I think it was pretty late by the way he's rated.
Okay. And then
I got it here in top 6.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm personally at 65 and something. So I'm only imagining it might be that very early July, as soon as they opened up, he was there, or maybe signed up, kind of around when Biff Markham, who's in the chat, came on, but was not able to join a team yet, or was assigned a team, but couldn't start playing because they didn't allow, I don't think, new players during the championship, so it was after the regular season. So they also have, looking at their two cornerbacks, I want to make sure that I'm saying that correctly, enunciating enough, cornerbacks, the defensive backs there. Terrence Pearson coming back for a second year at 7109 is pretty big. Amar Bryant Jr. coming in, I think I'd seen his name in a couple other sim leagues, so it's nice to see new talent coming in from other leagues. Again, looking at his number, I believe he came in early August, maybe late July, so not too long here. And then strong safety Josh Neal. So again, no free safety for this team, but they sort of almost trade that free safety for the defensive tackle here.
Yeah, I think they did have a free safety, but I
yes,
Justin Reeside got picked up, and I believe on your team, Daniel, right?
Yeah, he's our secondary free safety now in Tulsa. So they did have a free safety going into the last couple of weeks. So it'll be interesting to see if they can get one before the minors start.
And if they do, they'll be at 11 players, 6 players on defense, which is one more than any other team, I believe. So I feel like their defense has the potential to be a pretty good defense coming in here, similar to like we were talking about Lacron and the other. I'm Roy Vance, I want to say, on Boise. So I think they another possible really good defense coming in here.
Yeah, and Terrence is actually the top-rated corner as of right now.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, they have a good possibility of stopping some of those gold quarterbacks from making those connections. So Shane, he might be one to watch out playing against both you and Mike Savage.
Hopefully he's covering Mike in that game.
Yeah. And you get to exploit Amar Bryant Jr. So
I think the big trend that we're seeing, though, is because of last season, a lot of defense got taken. We're seeing a lot of rookies playing the defensive positions as opposed to the offense, which has a lot of returning guard.
That makes sense. So it might be an ebb and flow. Like again, I wasn't here for the draft for season 2. I'm not sure if that was maybe perhaps more offense heavy being taken, and there was more defense left in the ranks. I'm not really sure. That's an interesting observation, though. That because I know during the draft, the defensive linemen were a big. They didn't go quite as early as what people were expecting with like John Lawley and Matthew Helford and others, but they did eventually go second round or late first round and into the third round. They were something. I think Marcus Sledge, just a couple to name a few from last season that were taken. I'm hoping to see some more defensive linemen come in here. I think that would be a very big. That might be the thing. They might be the season 4 version of the kickers last season in the draft. That and/or offensive line. So, any other last final thoughts on Ottawa?
I look to see. I think Terrence is going to have a good season. He's like the top-rated corner. He already got a trait. Already, you got acrobatic catches. Well, I haven't seen on a lot of corners, so I'm interested to see how that actually plays out for him.
Sure. Would you say he might be sort of the one season removed of the Cody Griffin or Gerard Brody coming into this season?
He could have a similar role. I think I don't know how good an acrobatic catch is because I don't see it in the majors a whole lot for corners. So I'm interested to see how that plays a factor in the minor leagues. So he could have the potential to be like the all-star candidate for corners. And I'm going to actually, personally, I'm going to watch this very closely to see how he actually progresses and how he actually does throughout the season.
Sure. I'm going to look quick at the schedule for Ottawa. They first play against Annapolis, at Annapolis. And we're actually going to talk about Annapolis next. So thinking about week 1, come October 15th, we're inching away towards 2 weeks away, which is, it's going to be here before you know it. I'm really hyped for the Friday games. So let's switch over to Annapolis and take a look at what they have. So they're a little light, only 4 individuals on the offense, but pretty strong in at least a strong showing for defense. But the offense that they do have each one of them is returning from last year. Similar to, I can't remember, Cyrus Jive, Gene Struthers at 6'6", 225. 6'6" is a pretty tall fellow to be able to throw these over top of any of the defensive line that's coming in or any of the offensive line. They'll be able to stay in the pocket longer, not have to scramble to get a clear view to any of their wide receivers, which both of them, Nick Lockett as well as Orain Darby, coming back for round 2 for their second season in the minor league. All capped with the power back of Randy Squarebush, which actually I think many people thought was going to be taken maybe by Baltimore, or they were looking for, or someone, maybe it was Carolina either, or also, they were looking for a power back, or they were assuming they would be taking a power back based on the type of personnel. So, some people may have been surprised that he's coming in again for a third year. But again, this offense feels like it, all they need is a tight end to round that out, and or maybe a fullback to round it out. or a offensive lineman. But adding any other position in offense, I think would be great addition for them and make them almost as competitive. There we go, with Tacoma. Thoughts on Annapolis, the offense?
I'll mention a few points. Gene Struthers came in, I think, week 6 or week 7 last season, so he wasn't the starting quarterback for them at the time, for the Birmingham Fuel. Now they're the Annapolis Navigators.
Yep.
But he did come in, and as pretty much a newborn, he was actually playing really well. He got them their 1 win on the final week of the season. And as you said, Nick Lockett and Oren Darby, they're coming back. I think this team needs a tight end position. I want to say something for blocking purposes, because Ronnie Squarebus, he could have an outstanding season, but right now they're all week 5. Thank you, Money Joey. Week 5 you came, so he still only played four games. But I think they need like a front line member for Randy Squarebus to really go off. I think Gene Struthers could have a good season. I expect this team offensively be middle pack to upper tier. It depends on if they ever get a front line. But I can see them playing a lot. They're definitely going to play a lot better than they did last season.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. And I think it has to do with, the other thing is finding out after, I'm nearing my second season in the SFL world ecosystem, and there is, I don't know, it's not really luck per se, but there's something that when things click, things work really well. When things don't, things start to fall apart, and there's probably a science. There's probably certain plays or the way the playbook is put together, or fatigue, or so many variables go into it. I'm not sure what the magic box says, but there's something that if things work out for that group of 4, and like you said, if they can add maybe one other offensive weapon of some sort or offensive support, can really make or break that how well they boost into that next tier, and really give competition to every other single team out there. Shane, what are you thinking? What are your thoughts on Annapolis this season?
Yeah, no, I think I agree, guys. I think their offense is going to be pretty solid. I think they're going to surprise some people. I kind of get kind of how our offense was last year, where we had solid players, but we're still, kind of progressing and learning. I kind of have the feeling they're in that same category, and I think by halfway through the season, they're going to be a team to reckon with on the offensive side.
Yeah. Once they get it going, it'll be hard to stop them, possibly. Great call out there. And newcomer on the defensive side, defensive tackle Odette Boudreau. You might recognize her last name. I believe she is the wife of kicker for Louisiana, Jess Boudreau. I need to plug in my computer quick before it dies. I forgot to do that. There we go. All right. They also have returning outside linebacker Tazzy Blackwell, who's been progressing and at 63 is a very solid linebacker. She is, I believe, one of the top. I believe Earl Fields is just maybe 1 point ahead of her. So she is really a strong candidate for partnering with Odette in really stopping that run and maybe getting pressure, stopping the any tight ends in the rest of the minor league. Again, having doubled up on cornerbacks, which is not every team. Not every team has 2. But then also having a full complement of safeties in the back will really, I think, help set them apart, just with the amount of people that are there progressing beyond what the generic status would be. I feel like Stuart Zemelia, I think he he seems like a really great guy. I've seen some of his posts and gotten to know him or talked with him a little bit through the SFLM late last year. So he's a returning individual, but I think he was a very late, like maybe week 7 or week 8, perhaps maybe 6 pickup last year for the Fuel. And then a newcomer, King Rashid. King Rashid. Like you said, every week they're going to be progressing, and so that every week they're going to get bigger and better. So, thoughts on the defense?
To me, this looks like the first look of a chance that we can see a full, complete defensive team.
Yeah,
we got positioned everywhere. We got 2 safeties. This looks like a team that defensively they have all the tools already. Tazi Blackwell was one of the standouts for the Fuel last season. First year for her. People expected that she might have actually or should have got drafted. She's going to be standout. She had interceptions, she had sacks, she had tackles for losses. He did pretty much everything for the Fuel on defense, and I think that's only going to continue. The King, I'll call him the King. I see him a lot in general typing and posting, so I liked his activity. I think he's relatively new. He just recently came into the program, so it's good to see that he's active. They have returning players, and they have a few newcomers mixed in. I think this is the first time we've seen a team that my stack is probably the best defensively that we've seen.
Shane, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think that having multiple secondary players will help them in the long run. Especially going against teams that have 2 really good receivers. It'll definitely help them. Having multiple 2 safeties and all that. So I definitely think they're gonna be a strong team this year. It's one of the teams I think playing for Tacoma we're gonna look out for. I think we play them probably halfway through the season, so they're gonna be a tough out for us.
I'm gonna check that quick right now. Actually, you're right. Looks like week 5, which is mid-November. Definitely. So it's talking about like having a full complement of secondary. When I think of having both strong safeties and free safeties, my initial thought is to keep the running back that might have gotten through the first couple tiers of the defensive line, and then the linebackers are running to chase them or trying to cross the field to get to them. Cornerbacks are always going to be probably either zone or man to man against the receivers that might be there. I can only imagine that the safeties, I tend to think of them as run stoppers to keep the big runs from happening. But yeah, you mentioned it, Shane, like the ability for them to then stop or converge in coordination with the cornerback to really either tip that ball, because the cornerback is going to be mirroring the wide receiver, whatever they're doing, and then it's the safety who could, during a pass play, come in from the side, maybe jump in front of the ball, catch it, or tip it out of the way, or at least be there to support in tackling or keep from having too many over the head balls being lobbed out at wide receivers that maybe it'll be you overtaking the cornerback and getting that edge deeper into the secondary. That's a really good call out. So those are the 3 additional teams that I prepared for today, thinking that we would take the whole time to talk through it. Any other questions that anybody had, or any other statements, or any other? I know Johnny Reno came to us a little bit late, and he had asked if we had already covered Tacoma. We did briefly both last week and this week so far, but we can talk about it a little bit more. I'm not gonna, and that if anybody else wants to have any questions or wants us to talk or wants to share anything in chat, feel free. We will bring that up and we'll talk about it. So if you give us anything you want to talk about, we'll do that. Jumping back to Tacoma, looking at, I think Biff had said it, this offense looks stacked. And it really does, looking at it, two gold level quarterback and running back. They have a full safety. I'm not on the team anymore, or not a fullback. They also have two silver wide receivers. So again, looking at that, the offense should be, you use the words, they have all the tools to be successful. It's just then a matter of actually applying it on the field. What does it play out like on the field, which we know is always the gamble, the randomness, the preparation really works towards, whether that's through scouting out what the competitor's defense is going to be doing and finding the offensive plays that can counteract that, etc. So, and then we had mentioned that the defense is in a growth state, but that also we have two Earl Fields coming back, the only second year individual on the defense right now for Tacoma, but also at least has a pretty good complement. The only thing I'd love to see on here, they've got at least two linebackers, but it'd be great to see a defensive lineman or a second cornerback coming in here to really make that a full set or a full complement on the defense. Any questions, anybody? Or Daniel, Shane, do you guys have any comments or anything?
Well, I got a comment. If you actually think about this, it's funny because they almost had their tight end coming back as well. He got picked up by Mexico City. Bill Henry,
yep.
I believe his name was.
Yep.
So we almost had another or secondary comeback in tight end. So that was almost everyone from our offense coming back for a second or third season.
That is interesting. Yeah, he was, I believe, I want to say he was bronze, having been in there for a while. We can maybe check. I'm going to check that out. Shane, what do you think? About that? Imagine having a tight end in there as well.
Yeah, no, we originally thought we were going to have him, and I think we've been really dangerous if we still had Bill Henry. But I think, like I said, I'm a little biased, of course. But like I said, our offense is I think we're going to put up a lot of numbers. And we got a good coaching staff. Jalen Wells, our head coach. Hanzo on the defensive side. I think they put good game plans together and help us put us in position to be successful.
Yeah, and I remember, Scott Johnson on Las Vegas, running back, Ezekiel Love as well on offensive. Both Scott and Hattori Hanzo, Shan, really are good at scouting, at really understanding the game and things. I'm excited to see what they can do, what is in store for you all. I think it's going to be really exciting. I'm going to take a look at the Lexington head coach was mentioned. I want to see who that might be. I can use my phone. It's faster with streaming on my computer.
Well, while you're doing that, I'm going to go back to the Navigators for a second. The Fuel last season had probably the best or one of the best defenses. It was always their offense that they couldn't score a point. And now everyone's returning on their offense. It would be nice to have a tight end, but I could see them really change it around and be one of the, 3rd or 4th in the contendership and make playoffs and definitely have a better season than their one win last season.
I definitely could agree with that. I'll switch over to their visual. They have a lot of what they need, with returning quarterback, with returning wide receivers, with the power back that's in there, and then like you were saying, the complement of defense. They are going to. I want to say their luck is the other side of the coin this season than it is the other side. So I agree totally with that. I think it's going to be. They're going to be. It's almost. I want to say fitting that their name, their location, their team name changed as well. That it's probably going to be a new feel for. It's no longer the 1-8 Birmingham Fuel. It's going to be a brand new fresh start for the Annapolis Navigators, I want to say.
Yeah, that's why I was saying they're my team to look out for.
And Ethan, in the chat earlier, you had mentioned that Lexington got a new head coach, and I noticed it's someone that is familiar. It looks like it's now listed as you, Mr. Ethan. I believe was it previously Chad Rowland, London individual admin. So that's exciting. They also have, I want to say Mac Chima is also a brand new, or him or Tom Tanner were both new to that team, new coaching coming in. So I think they're going to have a pretty big shakeup, a different mentality, perhaps a different style of football or play. So that, we'll highlight them in probably next week, as well as the other teams that we've missed. We've gone through 5 of the 9, right? 8? Gosh. I'm going to check. 1, 2, 3, 4.
19.
8.
There's 9 teams.
9. Gosh. Thank you. There's so many to keep track of. It feels like it should be only like 6, but my brain can't hold more than 6 or 7. Cool. Yeah, I think I'm excited about it. So I also, speaking of new hires, new coaching, I personally was seeking opportunity to learn more about coaching, and specifically more offensive coaching. I feel like I understand the offensive plays more. I can scout offense more so than I can read defensive plays. So I reached out to Jacob Clear, who I've gotten to know more, both in the SFLM off season as well as the show here. And so he is the offensive coach on Madison, and so I've been brought in to sort of shadow him as the assistant offensive coach. So I'm really excited to sort of learn all of the coaching stuff there, and really to help support the team. Still, it'll be a really interesting thing to be both a Tacoma alum and also a active Madison coach. So it's just something I'll have to deal with. But I'm really, at the end of the day, we are all part of the same community, and we all want to see each other succeed. That's at least where I am. That, yeah, during the 44 minutes that we might be playing on the field, as the clock ticks by, as soon as it hits double zeros or quadruple zeros, however many zeros there will be at the end of the game, we all go back to being good friends and building a community together. So I'm really going to be... I really want to be part of, the minor league. I want the show to be for the minor league, by the minor league, and really talking about things that you guys all care about. So again, if you're not part of the Discord, I recommend either reaching out to me in Discord or something. I can send you the invite to that, and being... I welcome feedback. I want to hear, things that you're interested in, things that you care about. That's one of the reasons that we want to really focus on the attributes first. The last 2 shows, wanting to really get to know what it is that we are trying to do, so that we're educated, we can make better choices and be more engaged with our players and understand what's going on the field. How do I become better versus just simply being told by my coaches what to progress, but understanding why that is, that I can actually be more involved in my players' growth, etc. And I believe if it's not done before kickoff, the next subject that we want to dive into then are animations, and sort of walking through the different animations that are available per position or position groups, and talking through what those are. And I'm hoping to get individuals like Jacob Clear, individuals like Ethan, like the deputy commissioner, to be able to come on or be participating in chat. Really appreciated that, so that we can really demystify, so that you do some searches on like loose ball magnet or things, or leadership, and it says like a 5-word sentence in there about what it is. But it's like, well, actually, how does that play out on field? What does that actually mean? Which one should I get? Which ones should I not get? Kind of thing. And when should I be doing this? That comes into play as well. The whole progression philosophy. Do I go attributes first, or when is too early to do animation? So those are some things that we really want to talk about in the future. So with that, next week, hopefully we'll be getting an individual on to an expert to come on to walk us through the rest of the attributes, and then highlight another 2 or so, perhaps 3 teams in preparation for coming back and waiting for the kickoff to really highlight that. So, any last words before we wrap up tonight, Daniel or Shane?
I just want to say congrats on your, coaching, learning how to coach there. That's really great.
Thank you. I'm excited but nervous. There's a lot that goes into it, but it's something that I'm really interested in. The peeling back the hood about how, which plays do well with what type of personnel, and understanding the progression of individuals and all the different things that go into making decisions like that. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I know you were thinking about this for a while. You've been thinking about a lot of things about helping out other than playing yourself. So it's actually nice to see you actually get your chance to learn from other players and get up there as well. So congratulations on that. Thanks. It should be a fun minor season. I'm going to have a whole bunch of fun watching it instead of playing it this time. So
exactly.
It'll be interesting to see how things go.
Yep. It'll definitely keep me busy during the regular pro off season. So, yeah.
Yeah, and one thing I want to say real quick too is, if people want to get involved in these things, reach out to players and owners on the SFL. A lot of these guys are good guys, and they will sit down and take the time to help you guys. Even if you want to get more involved, the stats teams are always looking for people as well. So there's a lot of things that the SFLM players can get involved and more into.
Definitely. You mentioned stats. I didn't even know that was a thing until I think Justin Reside ended up being stats guy in Las Vegas for most of the early part, or the first half of the season. I didn't know that was a thing, and then I think Shane, you're doing some as well.
Yeah, for Queen City.
Gotcha. And then I think there's another person down in Florida as well doing another SFLM individual, perhaps. But yeah, I think I didn't even know that was a thing. I figured that was broadcast team and other people that you had to be sort of a pro to do that or something. But I think that's one thing I'd love to know, both from you and maybe we can have Justin Reside come on also to sort of get an understanding of what is that role like. What is that? What are you doing actually? What's going on? Are you in an Excel spreadsheet? Are you watching the game and counting things, or are you going to the stats and pulling stats to be able to sliding a digital note to the broadcasters with information? I'm not really sure what it entails, so I'd be interested to find out more.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's definitely we could definitely go over that one of these shows coming up.
Cool.
Even get Stephen Hacker on and stuff. He can explain better. So he's like the head in charge of that. So that could be a good guest on the show.
Absolutely, good call out. Cool. But yeah, again, this is a place for us to learn, and sometimes we might have different ideas of what things should be, and that's where the disagreement might be. But again, it's all in good fun and agreeing to disagree. But I think the big key part then is the insights at the end of the title. That's where I'm really hoping the growth and sharing all this comes out. So with that, I think I already gave Daniel and Shane both your last words. Do you have any other additional last words before we close out tonight?
Just thank you guys for coming out. Thank you for being part of this. Thank you for actually watching. Because There's no fun doing this if we don't have viewers and you guys coming out watching every time. It really just makes us want to do it even more and continue doing it.
Absolutely. Well, great. Well, with that, I bid you adieu. Have a good rest of your Wednesday night, and we've got SFL games coming up this weekend. So I'm really excited about it, and we will see you a little bit later. All right. Good night.